There comes a point in life when something inside you quietly shifts. It might follow a tough experience, a deep realization, or simply a moment where you start seeing things more clearly than before. Suddenly, the things that once mattered so much begin to lose their grip. The excitement fades, the urgency fades, and in its place, there's a kind of stillness you don't fully understand. At first, that stillness can feel powerful, almost like you've stepped outside the system everyone else is caught in. You notice patterns you never saw before. You question things you once accepted without thinking. But then, something unexpected happens. The sense of direction you relied on begins to disappear, too. You're no longer chasing the same goals. You're not as emotionally pulled by success, approval, or competition. It's not that you've given up. It's more like those things just don't reach you the same way anymore. And that's where confusion starts to grow. Because deep down, you expected clarity from this kind of inner shift. You thought understanding more would make life feel sharper, more meaningful. But instead, you feel disconnected. Almost like you're watching life instead of fully living it. This is the part most people don't talk about. There's a stage where your old motivations stop working, but new ones haven't formed yet. You're standing in between two versions of yourself, one you've already outgrown and one you haven't fully stepped into. And that space can feel empty. Even thinkers like Carl Jung explored this deeply. He believed that when you start becoming aware of your deeper layers, it doesn't immediately create peace or direction. Instead, it often creates confusion first, because the identity that once guided your decisions begins to dissolve. For most of your life, your actions were shaped by a certain version of yourself. You wanted to achieve, to prove, to belong. That version gave you structure. It gave you reasons to move forward. But once you begin questioning it, that structure weakens, and without it, motivation naturally drops. This doesn't mean you've lost your drive. It means the source of that drive is changing. Here's something important that's often overlooked. Your mind doesn't just remove old patterns and instantly replace them. There's a gap, a pause where everything is being reorganized internally. And during that time, it's completely normal to feel slow, uncertain, or even stuck. But this pause has a purpose. It's giving you space to rebuild from something more honest. Another angle to understand this is through energy. Before this shift, a lot of your energy may have been tied to external rewards, recognition, success, validation. When those lose meaning, your system needs time to redirect that energy inward. And that process isn't instant. In fact, forcing yourself to get back to normal too quickly can make things worse, because you end up trying to restart an engine that no longer runs on the same fuel. This is why some people feel frustrated during this phase. They try to push themselves using old methods, but nothing clicks. The harder they try, the more disconnected they feel. What actually helps is the opposite. Instead of forcing action, you begin observing what naturally draws your attention. Small things, simple interests, quiet curiosities. These are often the first signs of a new direction forming. It's subtle, but it's real. There's also a deeper layer happening here. As your outer identity quiets down, parts of you that were ignored or suppressed start coming forward. Old emotions, hidden fears, even forgotten desires. This can feel uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Because real growth isn't just about gaining new insights, it's about integrating what you've avoided. Jung emphasized this idea strongly. He believed that becoming whole requires facing both the light and the darker, less comfortable parts of yourself, not rejecting them, but understanding them. And this process takes time. That's why this phase often feels slower than anything you've experienced before. It's not about quick results, it's about deep alignment. If you stay patient through it, something interesting begins to happen. A different kind of motivation starts to return.
Not the intense, pressure-driven kind you had before, but something calmer, more stable, more natural. Instead of pushing yourself, you feel pulled in certain directions. You start doing things not because you should, but because they feel right. This is where life begins to shift again. You may notice you're drawn to create, learn, or build in ways that feel more personal. You become more selective with your time and energy. You say no more easily. You stop forcing connections or situations that don't feel genuine. And slowly, a new rhythm forms. It's not based on pressure, it's based on clarity. Another important change is how you define progress. Before, progress may have meant achieving visible results. Now, it feels more like inner alignment, feeling at peace with your choices, moving in a direction that actually fits who you are becoming. That shift changes everything, because when your actions come from alignment instead of pressure, they become more sustainable. You don't burn out as easily. You don't feel like you're constantly chasing something just out of reach. Instead, you're building something that feels real. So if you're in that phase where your motivation feels low, don't rush to label it as failure. Don't assume you've lost your way. You're in a transition, a necessary one. The old version of you is stepping aside, and the new version is still taking shape. That space in between might feel uncomfortable, but it's also where the most important changes happen. Give it time, because once things settle down, you won't just return to how you were before. You'll move forward in a way that actually feels like you.